Welcome. Today, we're jumping into the fascinating story of two crucial leg bones, the tibia and the fibula. We're going to see how their unique shapes and, their little differences tell a really cool evolutionary story about the animals they belong to.
Okay, let's dive right in. We're starting with osteology, which is just the study of bones. And we're zooming in on the lower leg to see how the absolute powerhouse, the tibia, and its much more, let's say, adaptable partner, the fibula, are perfectly designed for the lives of different animals. All right, first up is the tibia. Think of it as the main pillar of the lower leg. This is the bone that does all the heavy lifting, literally. So, just like any other long bone in the body, the tibia has that classic structure. You've got two ends, those are the epiphyses, and then the long part in the middle, that's the diaphysis. Simple enough, right? But trust me, the magic is all in the details of these parts. Now, up at the top of the tibia, you can see these smooth surfaces. Those are the condyles. That's where it connects with the femur to create the knee joint. And see that prominent bump right up front? That's the tibial tuberosity, and it's a super important anchor point for those powerful thigh muscles. Okay, so as we move down the shaft from that tuberosity, we get to the tibial crest. You'll definitely recognize this. It's the sharp front edge of your own shin bone. And as we're about to see, how prominent this crest is varies a ton between species, and that tells us a whole lot about their muscles. And now we're at the bottom. This is where the tibia forms the main part of the ankle joint. That grooved surface you see is called the cochlea, and it's flanked by two bony bumps, the medial and lateral malleoli, which give the ankle its shape and, more importantly, its stability. All right, let's talk about its partner, the fibula, because its story, well, it's all about adaptation. And in some animals, it's a story of a pretty dramatic disappearance. So here's the most important thing to remember. While the tibia is handling all the weight, all the impact, the fibula is the supporting actor. Its main gig is just to provide stability on the side of that super important ankle joint. And this right here leads to a really fascinating question that sets up everything we're about to compare. If it's not bearing weight, why on earth would this bone almost completely vanish in a cow but stay totally intact in a dog? The answer, as you'll see, is all about how they move. Now, for the main event, the species showdown. Let's really get into how the anatomy stacks up when you compare cattle, horses, and dogs. And this image just shows it all so perfectly. Just look at the incredibly thick, robust tibia in the cattle and horse. And then compare that to the much more slender, delicate-looking bone in the dog. The difference is night and day. This table really breaks down those key differences for us. You can see the shaft in cattle is curved, while in the horse, it's more flattened. But check out the dog. Its tibial crest is described as short, but very prominent. That signals a totally different kind of powerful muscle attachment compared to the other two. Even the tiny grooves at the ankle joint tell a story. In cattle and dogs, they're straight, which allows for a simple back-and-forth hinge motion. But in the horse, the grooves are actually angled. It's a subtle tweak, but it's a brilliant adaptation that allows for the slight rotation they need for that powerful, efficient running gait. But really, the most dramatic story of all is the fibula's evolutionary journey of just shrinking. This isn't just a minor difference in shape. We're talking about a clear progression towards basically disappearing in some animals. So let's trace it out. In the dog, you've got a complete, fully formed fibula. No problem. Then you look at the horse, and it's already significantly reduced. Only the top half of the shaft is there before it just tapers off to nothing. And then you get to cattle, and it's become just a tiny remnant. The top part is actually fused to the tibia, and the bottom part has become its own separate little bone. This side-by-side just says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the dog's long, complete fibula, and on the right, in the cow, it's been reduced to just a little trace that's fused to the tibia. It's an absolutely stunning example of evolution in action, right there in the bone. So we've seen the what, but now it's time for the why. What does all of this actually mean in the real world? Let's connect these cool anatomical details to why they matter functionally and even clinically. At the end of the day, it's simple. The bone structure is perfectly tailored to the animal's lifestyle. For big herbivores like cows and horses, a massive tibia and a tiny fibula create a super stable, powerful leg for standing around and for running in a straight line.
But for a predator like a dog, that complete fibula is absolutely key. It allows for more ankle rotation and all the agility needed for hunting, pouncing, and making those lightning-fast turns.
And, from a clinical standpoint, these differences are not just interesting, they're absolutely critical. As this quote points out, a veterinarian can't even think about treating a leg injury in a horse the same way they would for a dog. You have to understand this deep anatomy to have any chance of a successful surgery. And that really leaves us with a final thought. A skeleton isn't just a frame holding an animal up. It's a library filled with incredible evolutionary stories. Every single bump, every groove, every variation is a chapter just waiting to be read, telling us exactly how that animal is built to survive. So the question is, what other secrets are just waiting for us to find?